Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Joes of all ages, welcome to the main event of the evening.
It's Talking Joe with Chief and Steve.
Yo, Joe! Yo, Joe! Yo, Joe!
Hey, hey, hey! It's the Chiefy Two Shoes. I'm joined by you.
The S-Jubby No Shoes.
But pants?
Yes, pants. Pants.
Yes.
Amen. I have the door
how are
open
ya?
tonight, Chief. There's nobody else in the apartment, so I'm breathing easy for a change.
Oh, you're footloose and fancy free.
Ooh, you know it, son. How are you doing, Chief?
Yes, I am well. I have just spilt a cup of tea on the way up into the loft.
But of course.
What I'm actually going to do, I'm making a compilation of Chief spills because I am the big bad Chief Spiller, the spill daddy, so to speak, and I have got a snapshot of probably about 10 spills of things I've done over the last month. So listeners, get ready for that compilation of Chief spill images.
If you could timestamp each picture, we could probably cross-reference the exact episode of Talking Joe Out of Timers that you were working on at the time. And
Yes.
yeah, we'll get this great super cut of oh, inside Chief's mind, I spilled something again.
But other than spilling, Chief has only gone and done it again, hasn't he? The guy does not know when to say no. So off the back of a brief discussion about Scalextrics with Ben on the Out of Timers, I went and then spent a load of money on Scalextrics and built this super track with cars up in the loft. And unfortunately, I was talking to someone, might have even been the Seddons, about the latest classified Joe line. I was like, they look pretty cool. Do I need them or not? And Mark was like, oh, they're really cool. Peter was like, no, you don't really need them. And then I went down a rabbit hole at the weekend of just looking at modern day action figures and thinking, wait a minute, these are actually quite cool. Just across all franchises. So I was looking at Marvel Legends, the Star Wars Black Series, obviously the Joe Classified lines, and then a load of others from companies I'd never heard of, like NECA and Marfex and all these other people. And I was like, oh, these are really cool.
That's
and
an
before you
expensive
knew it-
rabbit hole.
well, before you knew it, I'd spent 300 quid on stuff I don't need. And the first figure arrived yesterday, and it is a Star Wars Black Series Bosk. And this figure is nice. Articulation is not the best. I'm struggling to get him to hold the gun in two hands, but the figure looks gorgeous. 'Cause
Well,
in my
since
head,
your precedent was the original Empire Strikes Back collection action figure who couldn't hold anything, this is surely a step up from that.
yes. But in my head, I think one of the things that triggered this was having seen loads of good online toy photography, not least of which friend of the show, Mate Mylar, just to name one, but loads of other listeners and other sites that I've been checking out who are doing this fantastic toy photography. I was like, I fancy throwing my hat in the ring and doing some mashups, doing some, Marvel, Star Wars, G.I. Joe mashup photos with zero experience of the game, so to speak. So I imagine my efforts will be poor, but that led me to buy multiple things. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it now live on air. Not that it's audio friendly, but a package just arrived. I'm not kidding. About 3 minutes ago. So I'm
Live unboxing. Here we come.
live unboxing for audio. How does that work? Not well, I imagine.
So,
here we go.
Christmas
Opened it up.
when something arrives in the mail. Oh my
Yep.
word, it's the
Yep.
best. The toy shop comes to you.
Two figures in this package. One is a Black Series Princess Leia Organa Hoth outfit. The facial printing here looks fantastic. I mean, I'm no expert in the world of toys at all, so I could be speaking horrendously wrong, but this looks really nice. Okay, and then there's one more figure in this box. Who did I get this from? This is from In Demand Toys, and it's a Marvel Legends Uncanny X-Force Deathlock figure.
Ooh. You a
Sculpt
fan of
looks-
Deathlock?
But yeah, I am a fan of Deathlock. Yeah. That looks nice. Pictures will go up on the socials. Apologies, that is not Joe related, that last little bit. But what have you been up to, my friend?
Chief scores. Oh, man. You know, I think about absolutely every bit of content that this episode could possibly throw my way, except an adequate way of answering that question. What have I been up to? Not much, Chief. Punching the clock, man. Just doing the day by day. Shall we move on to snacks?
Let's do it. Yeah, snacks. Potato chips, crisps, biscuits and candy, washing them down with a whiskey or a brandy, chewy sweets, cookies, built around jerky, snacks running fair because we got them at our mercy. We're snackers, attackers, bad mother truckers, and we're eating all the crackers, munchers, crunchers, knockout snacks like we're heavyweight punchers. The snack police are in there, here's out!
Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta. You know something about me, S-Jubs, the South African boy living in Australia, but do you know that I'm actually Greek?
For this episode?
No, I'm Greek. I really am Greek.
Okay.
No jokes, okay? So today's snack is inspired by the Greek islands in the Mediterranean. I'm gonna drop the accent, but
I liked it.
They are chips made in Australia, but the flavor is tzatziki.
And when you said you were going to drop the accent, you did it again immediately.
I know, right? Well, before it goes to Italian. Sorry, like the Mediterranean, you know, you're splitting hairs there. But, okay, I make a killer tzatziki, Chief. Let me just say, like full-fat Greek yogurt, cucumber, a lot of garlic, some lemon juice, buddy. I will not be ashamed to blow my own trumpet here. I'm good at making the bloody tzatziki. So when I saw tzatziki-flavored, like, potato chips, I was like, no, you're pulling my leg. You're pulling my plonker. You are not buzzing my berries. So this is set up to fail, I'm afraid. But I'm going to rip this bag and give it a sniff. As I've said before, my sense of smell sucks. But here we go.
Okay.
I'm not getting much of anything other than savory.
Okay.
No,
Just
man.
a generic savoury taste.
I'm not getting that cucumber cool or that creaminess of the yogurt. I'm not getting much of the roasted, well, not even roasted garlic. It should be fresh garlic, to be honest. Nah, buddy.
One thumb, no thumbs.
Look, they're as Moorish as a potato chip will ever be, but in terms of authenticity to the Greek flavor of the tzatziki, it's no thumbs, my friend.
I'll tell you who you
No
sound
thumbs.
like. You sound like Watto from Phantom Menace.
Yeah, well, he was trying to spoof or send up my people, you know? That's why me and the prequels do not walk the same path. No.
Very good. Very
Anyway,
good.
snap us out of this parody.
I sent you a picture, and I'll post these up on the socials probably about 3 weeks later, I imagine, as this seems to be the only thing that I can't seem to get timestamp right, putting up snacks. But anyway, I am munching on a bit of birthday cake. It was the Chief Dog's kid's birthday yesterday, celebrating the big 5, and the Mrs. Chief made a Frozen 2 Elsa cake, and I am just now going to have a slice of this. It's just a plain vanilla sponge, but she makes a good cake, very moist. A little bit of buttercream around the outside, but
And a very impressive design. I mean, it is the dress that Elsa cocoons herself in, basically.
yeah. So that is basically, it was just a Elsa doll with her dress taken off. So then the missus made obviously the big bottom of the dress, but also
Edible.
the sleeves are rolled, icing the top, all the sequins, all the diamonds and stuff on it. So
So
great
you
job,
literally
and
eat the clothes off of a Disney princess.
you got it. You got
There's
it,
a
baby.
very, very adult angle waiting to happen there. But I've just been looking at your pictures of your Black Series Princess Leia. Absolutely,
Oh, yeah, I
the
just sent them,
facial printing is incredible. Those same figures are available at like Walmart's currently, or the South African South African, the Australian equivalent of Walmart, the Big W store. I've seen them going on, but on a sort of a vintage style recard.
Yes, what they've done is they've released 40th anniversary Empire Strikes Back.
That's it.
So they're on like the old school blister card. But yes, I think they're pretty much the same figure. So there might have been a few very tiny upgrades, but essentially the same figure. But I got this one for £9.
Oh, excellent. So, well,
not going to
who needs
complain
the
at
packaging anyway?
Yeah, there you go.
Though, speaking, I mean, just as a straw poll, would you prefer the vintage card backs, or are you just going to chuck it out anyways?
I probably won't throw away the packaging for this.
Oh, what are you talking about, Chief? Black Series packaging is the most throwaway packaging ever created, as far as I'm concerned. It's totally take it or leave it. It's a nice filing system if you're the kind of guy who likes to slip his figures back into the box for sort of storage. But if you're like me, who likes easy access to your action figures, it's like there is nothing to that packaging that makes it stand out. It's literally a numbering system, a filing system. I guess. There's no artwork, there's no photography, there's no collect 'em all on the back, I don't think.
No, there is a nice, I'm going to send you now, there is a nice picture on the back of the Bosk one.
Ah,
Let me just send, because this is like, but the Bosk one's in kind of like an archive packaging, so it's kind of a mix between the traditional blister style with just the card and then the plastic and the Black Series box. So let me just send you that one.
Hey, Chief, no pressure or anything, but 2 thumbs up for your missus's cake?
Oh, yeah, 2 thumbs up, yeah.
Of course.
Yep.
Make sure she listens to exactly 10 minutes of this podcast.
and definitely not the bit before it.
300 squids. Oh, dear.
Anyway, we're here to really talk about some comics, so let's go to Comic Talk.
Bring it in.
It's Comic Talk, baby. Chief and Steve discussing like crazy. Larry Harmer riding these bad boys, making sense of the wackiest toys. Listen as we talk about story arcs, making noise louder than Junkyard Box, talking about character motivations and all the various G.I. Joe fun locations. Okay, so we are discussing this week issues 216, 217 and 218.
Yep.
This is obviously
multiplying our issue count, man.
Yeah,
it's going up.
Yeah. Coming off the back of the 4-issue haul we did last week with our superb guest, Shannon Gallant, which was very nice to have him on. And this is a new story arc called Cobra Rising. So, let's have a look at the covers. 216. I've got the regular Gallant cover here, which is Cobra Commander on his Cobra throne. And looking a bit maudlin, looking a bit kind of, I don't know. Or does he look menacing?
Look, I'll say this much about CC being presented like this. This is how I like my Cobra Commander. I've said it before. I'm not a fan of him, meandering around the boardwalk at Broker Beach, or wearing his beret in Rancho Cobra, or getting his ass kicked in Ballsack, Sacramento. This is how I like my Cobra Commander served, a dollop of menace. And Shannon delivers that. You do not want to be in this audience chamber.
No, definitely. That's not. It's one of those kind of sparse covers, but does a lot with it. There's another couple of covers here. There's a subscription variant by Andy Soriano, Real American Hero lettering down the side. I can't really tell what's going on. Is it shipwreck and a bat on a boat?
Yeah, he is referencing a comic from 1950.
Right.
Crazy, man. Yeah,
Wow.
The Two-Fisted Tales. And down the side of that one, hilariously, it says He-Man Adventure.
Oh, right. Okay.
Obviously not referring to Masters of the Universe, but yeah, similar framing. There's a sort of a sailor on a vessel, and he's being overshadowed in the foreground by a pirate-looking fellow with a hook. And he says, "Here I am, you bilge rat, and I'm going to wrap that ugly hook around your neck." So, yeah, man, I don't know what the origin is, but I find it very funny that on the original cover it says 10 cents. And then on the sort of the reference cover it says 399 cents.
Very nice, very nice.
Nice touch.
I quite like it. It's kind of, very stylized and
very
even
pulpy
after the original material. Yeah, very pulpy. Yeah, I like it. It's good. Then there's the Larry Hama one, which is kind of a theme of the regular one, but this time you've got, is it Snake Eye or Sean punching Cobra Commander or got him around the neck? I can't really tell.
Neither can I, Chief. Don't have that cover to hand. And in my scans, did I say scans? I mean, in my digital... yeah, unfortunately, the quality is not sufficient to zoom in that far.
And then there's a couple of Baroness retailer exclusive ones.
Always the Baroness, hey?
One is the action figure variant cover, and then just kind of Baroness looking sexy with some guns.
No one's pushing this agenda. This is really just what guest cover artists always seem to kind of home in on.
Yeah.
Always the Baroness.
Yeah. Let's skip forward to 217. So regular cover here is actually by Paolo Villanelli, who does the interior art for these 3 issues. And he's kind of got some ninjas. So we've got Storm Shadow, Sean and Timber 3, I guess. Or is it a flashback to the original Snake Eyes? I'm not sure, because this scene doesn't take place.
Either way, I like the simplified uniforms. It's something that, like, you don't get away with on a toy book if you're doing toy accuracy. But since Paolo is the new guy, he's got a very clean style, very, like, scratchy, like, cross-hatching. I like this cover, Chief.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
It's nice. And then there's a subscription cover by Gallant, and this is Destro and Baroness. Again, not really reflective of the issue, but, just kind of a nice posing cover, I guess.
I can't decide if Baroness looks attractive or kind of mannish. But, very seductive bit of posing. I love the scaling that we see with Destro. He's got that big old, like, amulet. But the wrist rockets are looking very, like, slimmed down. They're not dominating his wrist. They're very dart-like. I like that.
Yep.
Details on point, man. Shannon, we know this guy. He's incredible.
He's amazing. He's amazing. And then there's a retailer exclusive, which is another one of these toy variants with the figure Storm Shadow in the kind of blister pack.
Yeah. He seems to be minus one accessory, which is advertised in the artwork, but not in the blister. He doesn't have his bow, man.
Nope.
Damn.
Nope. Key. And 218, regular cover by Paolo Villanelli, which is okay. I mean, not a lot of background, zero background going on here, but you've got Scarlet and Sean, who looks like they're engaged in a firefight. Sean looks like he's on one knee, although maybe we should be calling him Snake Eyes, but someone gets reprimanded in this issue or in some of these issues for calling him Sean instead of calling him Snake Eyes, actually.
I don't follow the action. I don't
Clutch?
understand what Sean is doing there. What is he doing? I think Steeler.
He's maybe Steeler. Maybe he's taken a hit or something and he's fallen down onto Scarlet, not sure.
Maybe. I don't know. That's not a lightsaber. It's not like he can, like, deflect bullets or laser blasts by...
I don't think so.
Swinging it around in her vicinity.
Gallant is doing the subscription cover, which is the Ghost Rider, which is Ghost Rider in the stealth. Sorry.
Now, I've got a problem with this, Chief. He's taking off from the pit kind of catapult system, which I'm dying to know how it functions. More on that later. But how is it that for such a sort of exciting, energetic activity, he makes it look so sedate? Doesn't it look like Ghost Rider's just having a little, like, Sunday drive?
A little chortle along,
Yeah, he doesn't have his mask up. He's chilling like a villain. Like, he should have just been rocketed into his seat as this thing accelerates from 0 to basically a velocity that could take it, straight into flight.
Definitely.
It's chilled.
We've got another couple of retailer exclusives. It says Portland, Oregon in the background, and we've got Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes just about to throw down. Then there's another sexy Baroness one.
Yep.
That's all I've got to say about that.
Crowd pleaser. Now, Portland, I suppose that must be Rose City. That's what Americans call Rose City.
Okay.
It says it's for the Rose City Comic Con.
Right, got it.
Oh, that's just Steve being a bonehead. American listeners, please correct me. Feel free.
Right, digging into the meat inside. Before we do that, we need a catch-up, and for that we need to know last time on A Real American Hero. With Snake Eyes dead, Hawk recruits the injured Sean Collins to take over the mantle of the Ninja Warrior. Meanwhile, Cobra strikes against G.I. Joe when they are weak, sending a team of Night Creepers to the High Sierras to kill Scarlet and the new Snake Eyes. Okay, so we should also note that obviously written by Larry, but we've got Paolo Villanelli, who's done some covers here, as the artist for these 3 issues on the interiors, with Jay Brown on colours. So Paolo's obviously penciling and inking his own work here. And I think overall, when I read these issues this morning and I wrote notes, I didn't write a fantastic amount of notes because I don't know if I've got a massive amount to say about these issues. Really, it was, I don't know, a bit meh overall, I think, although there was some nice bits going on, but it's clearly set up for the big Cobra World Order storyline, or whatever it's called. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's coming up, post this little arc. What's your overall thoughts of this little three issue Cobra Rising?
Well, don't worry, Chief. Steve can always bring up the balance of notes because I wrote a lot.
Oh, wow.
Though at the same time, I'm not going to get us bogged down. Hopefully, didn't mind it. The shift in art is welcome, though you can see,
Yes.
This guy's just started on the book. Like the kind of fidelity that Shannon achieved over the course of his many, many, many issues. In fact, it seemed like he had the magic touch straight out the gate, if we're honest.
Yeah, definitely.
Paolo is finding his feet, and that's okay, man. As I said, fresh blood. There's a kind of energy to his panels that is exciting.
Yeah, it felt a little bit more superhero-y in the art kind of style, but I don't necessarily think that is always a bad thing. But I think also it felt Larry's writing was a lot more, not necessarily, he wasn't writing superheroes in these issues, but it just felt different. Larry's writing definitely felt different in these 3 issues to
I think I know what you're talking about, Chief. There are 2 lengthy internal monologue sequences. The first is our Night Creeper leader, and the second is a sequence by Storm Shadow. Now, famously, Larry is very light on, I say never, but he hardly ever uses thought bubbles. But when you put a character's internal monologue or thoughts into boxes, that's effectively thought bubbling anyway. And so he's got the Night Creeper telling his story, I suppose, in reported speech. That's not quite internal monologue. He's saying these things to Cobra Commander, and he's reliving them in his memory. But when we get to Storm Shadow, that is straight up like we're reading his thoughts. We've got that kind of omniscient view. And that's something that, like, I think it was only used once. Like, I think there's one thought bubble that Cobra Commander has in, like, the teens of the run, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And never used again.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a different shift in style, man. You're not wrong.
And also, just small things like the fact that we see this Night Creeper leader at the beginning unmasked. That was something, have we seen any Night Creepers without their masks on prior to this?
Well, yes, the Night Creeper leader. Do you remember it was in the hunt? Yeah, man, there was a character called Night Creeper Leader introduced and dispatched in the same issue. I think it was in Trucial Abysmia. The ninjas are kind of creeping over no, it's got to be later than that to line up with the action figure release. But I think it's the ninja force are kind of creeping over the rooftops. Snake Eyes encounters this guy, and he kind of he monologues out loud to himself about how masterful Snake Eyes is, or how potentially masterful he could be. That like, oh, he can't possibly do this unless he is as good as this, or he can't possibly do that unless he. And ultimately, this guy just gets defeated by his own kind of monologuing. I mean, he gets dispatched very easily. But he is the Night Creeper leader. He walks around with a bandana basically tied around his eyes.
Okay.
It's kind of a blind master riff there.
Yeah.
And is it ringing any bells, Chief?
No, obviously I've read that issue multiple times, but no, it's ringing no bells.
But yeah, he looks nothing like Night Creepers. So I was going to applaud Shannon and then again Paolo for integrating this guy a bit more into the kind of the Night Creeper uniform. But and this is a recurring theme that I have with Paolo's artwork. For the leader of this unit of Night Creepers, this guy looks like a teenager.
Yes.
Yeah. His characters look cherubic. They're drawn very young. He has a very youthful style. Like, this is not New Mutants. These aren't a bunch of kids.
Teen Titans, yeah.
Teen Titans, or, what's the one? The Warriors?
New Warriors?
New Warriors. That ruffled some feathers at the beginning of this year. I've just been digging into some news about Snowflake and Safe Space and all that jazz.
Okay. You won't get that time back.
No comment. And even Storm Shadow, who, like, he is a veteran. He's worked for Cobra. He's worked for Joe. He should be showing a little bit more age, but he looks like a child. My wife loves to say, black don't crack and Asian don't raisin. She gets away with murder. But in this case, I think there should be at least a little some kind of distinguishing mark on a slightly creased forehead, perhaps, when it comes to Mr. Storm Shadow.
I do want to, there's a couple of points early on. Number one, it's clear that Larry really likes Mindbender because he's been pretty much, him and Cobra Commander have almost been a tag team, a comedy duo over the last several years. You don't really see one without the other. So, that's clearly coming from Larry. But also I was thinking Mindbender seems to be very prominent as his second in command on a kind of battlefield tactical level as well, because Mindbender's kind of leading the charge when we see the new Snake Eyes attacking Cobra Commander and then trying to escape. We see Mindbender leading the troops, and I was thinking, would he really be the one that would be the second in command or the field leader? But then I was thinking, well, who else is there? There's no really anyone else in the hierarchy, because Baronessa's gone, Destro's gone, Zartan's gone, Storm Shadow's gone. So all of Cobra Commander's kind of bigwigs have all left, and it's really only Mindbender that's the only one there now.
Yeah, man. Looking at those panels now, it's a big callback to issue 21, where Destro leads the charge up the stairs to the parapets of the Silent Castle.
Yeah, of course.
Mindbender ain't Destro. So if you draw that parallel exactly one for one, it doesn't work, man. Mindbender should be in, like, the control room, like,
should be in the lab.
Commander, we have dispatched the troops.
Yeah. But like I say, who else
Yes,
is there?
Commander, we have dispatched the troops. Sorry, he's kind of Mediterranean in his portrayal in the cartoon. He's got that big, broad accent.
Yeah. And why wouldn't... what are we going to call him? We're going to call him Sean, or are we going to call him Snake Eyes?
Sean Throwdown, I don't know. Do you want Scarlet to crack you in the neck for not referring to him as Snake Eyes? We need to keep the illusion, Chief.
Okay, so why wouldn't Snake Eyes Mark II have killed the commander? This is almost reminiscent of that issue, what is it, 150? Or, no, what's the one?
101, maybe?
101, sorry, yeah, where Snake Eyes has him, doesn't he, a knife at his throat in the Cobra Consulate building in New York.
Or is it 111? I don't know. I had that issue as a child. I read it so many times, the cover fell off, but I never took note of the issue number. Anyway, we all know which issue you're referring to, Chief, I should hope.
And Mark Bright drawn, penciled, I think, and
that's it.
He has Cobra Commander at his mercy. It's basically a warning, isn't it? Stay off, don't attack any of our guys, or we'll come seeking revenge. And it was almost like, well, is the threat bigger than actually offing Cobra Commander, or was Snake Eyes playing by the rules? Whereas here, I think Sean, just newly introduced to the outfit, probably doesn't have that same level of, I don't know, it just strikes me that he would have taken the chance to off Cobra Commander here, but didn't.
Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander within a couple of issues of each other.
Yeah.
That would certainly be revolutionary, a real shake-up. Oh, Chief. We will come on to the Snake Eyes issue at the tail end of this podcast. But this, a scene like this is definitely ammunition that I'm going to draw upon later. And it's something that Chris would often harp on. It's like, you're that close to the big snake. Just lean in, man. Just pull out your sharp, pointy thing and press it into his head.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
it.
One thing that I did like, and I don't know if this is used as a differentiating factor between Snake Eyes 1 and Snake Eyes 2, but you see quite a lot of scenes already. We've seen scenes of Sean using notepad and pen to, communicate, which we never actually saw Snake Eyes do. Why do, apart from that one in issue, what is it, 4, the Wingfield one.
And then
Snake Eyes
letters
is writing his
from
notebook.
Snake Eyes.
And then
Chief, it's because
never
no
really
one's
saw him.
developed. It's because no one's developed that telepathy link with Sean yet. You know how Scarlet or Stalker would always do the talking for Snake Eyes? They somehow knew what he was getting at. They could kind of interpret his body language perhaps. And they would often like monologue entire speeches of things that they're saying on Snake Eyes' behalf. Well, thank goodness those days are over, because I do like the notion that Sean carries around a pen and a pad, and for when he absolutely, when the need to express himself wells up in him to the point where he has to write something or communicate something, he does so. And it's believable. Did they find the bodies of my family? That's some pretty chilling shit. You've just completed a successful mission, I guess it was. He escaped with his life after getting into Cobra's inner sanctum. And he finds out that his foster family, including Wade Collins, have been vaporized. But he knows better.
It's a nice touch, and I think Larry had to do something to separate him. Look, he's put him in, albeit slightly changed costume. He's given him the severed vocal cords. He's given him the disfigured face. So he's an Arashikage ninja. He's, what other differentiating parts are there? But, the guy uses a notepad and pen instead of telepathy. There you go. That's your change. I tell you who else gets introduced here. We get reintroduction of Jerry, and he's got my favourite line of dialogue when they're putting together this crack squad of all these departments, and Jerry McCarthy from Republic of Ireland is back, the Irish Department of Defence, and he says, "I've worked with the Joes in Dublin. You can attest to their capabilities in going mano a mano department." Apologies to everyone of Irish descent out there.
No, mate, you killed it. Well done. Oh, that scene.
He can attest to the mano a mano department. Brilliant.
Now, they used this guy called Russ Sheath as the SAS representative.
Got to be Russ Heath, surely.
I thought that was a reference to Russ Heath, but turns out there is a Russ Sheath in comic books.
Okay.
Co-creator with Brian Hitch of America's Got Powers.
All right,
I think he's a writer.
Image book.
I don't know, man. You're the guy who knows comics.
No, America's Got Powers. Mm-hmm. America's Got Powers was written by Jonathan Ross.
Well, then I don't know what I'm talking about,
British
Chief. But
sitcom host.
I googled it, and he came up with some. There's some reference to Russ Sheath. But I thought to myself, why the hell aren't they using since they are unafraid of working in the red shadows? Why not draw on a actual named SAS character from Palitoy? Damn it, I've just forgotten the names.
I don't know. I don't know. So it's all on you.
I need to get back on my Battle Action Force reread. But the SAS stories are the best of the lot. Oh, yeah.
And here, when each one of the people here is introducing themselves, they all give a big spiel, apart from Mr. Sheath, who just says, "I'm Russ Sheath, SAS." That's all you need to know, basically. Well, he doesn't say that's all you need to know, but I'm saying that's all you need to know.
Yeah, no, that introduction round is laughable. It's very much like a sort of a wink at the audience. I am so-and-so from such and such. It's no, I'm pretty sure Hawk would have been pretty well briefed on who the heck you are. This is for our benefit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it was, after reading that first issue, it was kind of difficult to know what's really going on here in terms of, this is a 3-part story. It's been called Cobra Rising. We haven't really seen much in the way of Cobra's plots or schemes. We've just seen effectively the Joes assembling a multinational team to thwart what we don't really know is happening. And then we do get, in the next issue, Duke and Psyche-Out effectively having the conversation that we have every single week, where they just ask all the questions. What's Cobra's master plan? Was that giant robot project the main thing? Why did Cobra Commander ally Cobra with Revanche and the Black Major? What happened to Destro's relationship with Destro and Zartan? The real question is why Cobra went completely underground? Why abandon Rancho Cobra? Where did they all go? So it's kind of like they're asking all the same questions that we are.
It's a wonder that they're ever able to successfully complete their Danger Room training when they have that much banter.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy. Keep your eye on the holographic bullets that are currently flying. Hey,
Yes, yeah.
they've got Bacta tanks that can heal, like, eyes that are effectively removed from their sockets. And they've got danger rooms for, holographic immersion into, like, combat scenes.
Yeah, this is what I'm
G.I.
saying.
Joe's getting teched up, man.
It's going a lot more superhero-y, I think, with all this. It felt less like a G.I. Joe story arc, these 3 issues to me. But you do get, it is time, if you've still got it on tap, it's time to revisit an old jingle, an oldie but goodie, because there's some G.I. Joe fashion going on here.
Ooh.
Armani, Prada, Versace too. Joe's changed their outfits from black to blue. Duke and Hawk, look but don't gawk. Changing their kit, whoa, is that legit? Swapping camo jackets, headgear and boots. It's now neon colours and funky spacesuits. Sci-fi stalker and even roadblocks. While Bill, Flint and Mutt gave me a shock. So go take a walk if clothes aren't your passion, because it's comic book talk and lovely G.I. Joe fashion.
We've got some new Alley Viper uniforms. We've also got some new Iron Grenadier uniforms later on as well. So at least two lots of uniform changes.
Loving the redesign on the Techno Viper helmet. That's pretty cool.
Right, yes, of course, yeah.
And
as well.
the holographic pads that Duke and Psyche-Out are rocking, that's something new as well. That's a Zartan trope, but it seems G.I. Joe finally jumped on the bandwagon. Chief, this is all to do with the new art. These are not... Okay, except from the Alley Viper's recolor.
Yes.
Which was actually, like, Alley Viper got a kind of a deep red skin, sort of red and black color scheme around about this time. That has precedent in the toy line. Everything else, I think, are deviations just because we're dealing with a new artist. And his adherence to the toys isn't as strict.
Right, okay. We also get a Larry Hamarism with another sucking chest wound.
Poor old Psyche-Out, man. Do you think the Alley Vipers are using their shields correctly? Or was their AI in the holographic reproduction not great? I mean, if you're jumping out of cover and you've got a shield in your hand, keep the shield up.
Yeah, it wouldn't be down to your side, would it?
Yeah, man. Those prongs or those barbs, I should say, in the Alley Viper's shield, apart from being a great sort of bludgeoning tool or like poking tool, attacking like spearing tool, those barbs create a nice hollow, a nice kind of alcove for you to rest your weapon. And you can actually peer over the one on the other side. I know I like to display my Alley Vipers like that. So,
yeah.
I don't know, missed opportunity there to show an Alley Viper advancing with the shield up in front of his weapon and the sort of the barrel peeking over the top. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Something else I'd like to comment on.
Please
we
do.
open with this sequence that I was talking about with a very cherubic-looking Tommy. And this is something that I wanted to raise earlier. Now, we're led to believe that the Arashikage Dojo is basically under siege by a bunch of robots, okay?
Yes.
Blue ninjas.
Correct.
And it occurred to me during those sequences of, like, non-stop battling inside the dojo, like, they're fighting robots. We're still dealing with flesh and blood humans in Demon Granny, Tommy,
Raymond, is it?
And Raymond, yeah, and Jinx. Now, if those guys need to sleep, as I'm sure they must, and eat, and every other human function, like, surely the robots can just wait them out? Like, would it not have been prudent for, like, the Oroshikage to, like, disperse? I don't know how defensible their position could be. And it's just made clear by the fact that we open with all of them fast asleep. And Tommy's like monologuing to himself. Yeah, everyone's totally sound asleep. They are deep, deep, deep sleep. I'm the only one who's hearing all the sounds outside. So I'm like, jeez. Larry, you create the logic of your world, then you poke holes in it, and then you plunge right through those holes, brother.
Yeah. And is there any significance to the Zartan Tommy scene in terms of we've not really been leading up to this encounter? It feels a little bit out of the blue.
Clearly there's something that Larry had in mind. Because, I mean, it's all about Zartan giving this family blade back to the Arashikage. But he's referencing things that I don't remember. The partner blade to this is not significant to us in any kind of major plot reason. Like, yeah, I think Snake Eyes has the other one. So
Yes.
I suppose there's symmetry in both sword brothers having like identical blades, but like, oh man, martial art mumbo jumbo typically is kind of cool, but
Yeah.
I don't see how it adds anything. And
Maybe-
also, it kind of gets me scratching my head. Like, Zartan references an incident on top of a building in Manhattan. Now, this is a great time when, like, an editorial note would have been very helpful. Like saying, remember, that was in issue 107, A-Raw, Denny.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't reference stuff from Marvel.
Good shout.
But I can't even tell if this happened in IDW or before. Like, the stuff that Zartan's referring to, like, a little asterisk with a teeny tiny little one-line explanation would have helped.
That would have been nice. You know, we know that Larry's not shy on exposition, as we've seen in these very issues. So, you know, he could have added a little bit more background. But maybe it was just, you know, him wanting to tie up something that he had either dangled previously or maybe not. Maybe it was just something he was like, I want to do this. Let's just get it done now, out the way, clear the board for what's coming. Because another thing that has been cleared the board seems to be the secret location at the pit, because that has now just been buried underground, I presume never to be spoken of again.
Yeah, man. Like, in the same breath, they're saying we should keep this weapon online just in case we need to bring in the big guns. But then they're also like, we're covering it with so much concrete that you'd have to completely destroy the pit to get at it.
Yeah.
I was confused at that point as well. Confusing all around.
Yeah, we also get, at the end of this issue, we get the scene with Snake Eyes Mark II and Scarlet on the ferry, which is, again, a callback to previous issues. So you mentioned the issue 21 with the chasing Snake Eyes up the parapets, and this is, again, an issue where, you know, we've seen it a couple of times, actually, Scarlet and Snake Eyes on the ferry, and Larry's kind of drawing on that, and Scarlet doesn't want to let go because she's asking him to kind of stand at the edge of the ferry a bit longer.
How do you feel about the way that relationship is unfolding?
Well, I think this is around the time when I stopped reading. Now, I have all these single issues. I carried on getting it month to month, but I think this is about the time when, for some reason, I stockpiled and just never got around to reading them. So I think what I'm about to read is all new to me for the first time round going forward now. And
well, let me ask a more pointed question.
I don't know.
Do you feel that there's a romantic inclination, or is Scarlet just being sentimental?
Yeah, I don't read into that at this moment in time, no. I think you could. I think it's probably a 50-50 one that you could say yes or no, and I'm not going to disagree either way. But from a story point of view, I think it'd be super weird.
Yeah. I mean, we always eschew the ages of characters in these books, but like, you know, Snake Eyes and Scarlet basically knew Sean when he was a child.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's interesting. I must say, like, in another world, like, exploring this kind of weird relationship would be something that would definitely keep my interest up. But it would be out of place in G.I. Joe, a real American hero.
Yeah,
it would
possibly
be weird. But I'm interested in entertaining the idea, at least in my own headcanon.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting, you know, if nothing else, definitely. Anything else to say on 217 before we move on?
Mate, let's move on, because wow, did this storyline just take a left turn, man.
I've only got one note, one line of text for notes on issue 218, and it's the line that says, "Wait a minute, Ghost Rider is known for sneaking up on people?" ? Because someone mentioned.
Chief.
Someone mentioned.
I read his file card when we did Steve Talks Toys. I know it was yonks ago, but it happened. And in that file card, yes, it is. It is one of his traits of just not being noticed. Yeah.
No, not being noticed, but yeah, I suppose, yeah. I guess I read the line of dialogue that he's always waiting around the corner to jump out and prank people.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's... Look, the file card kind of makes it seem like his entire philosophy of life is to not be noticed. And this Larry does with a number of characters, like Zandar, for instance. In fact, he's so unnoticeable, he's disappeared into obscurity, never to be seen again.
Of course.
Good
I've
riddance.
never even thought about him for ages.
Yeah, amazing. It's working, Chief. Do you know that he's in, like, every issue? Which is not true. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. No, look, that is part of Ghost Rider's character, if you could call it that. It's an attribute that he has, and so that related to him being a sneaky stealth pilot. Of course, none of his stealth capabilities inside the jet are being showcased here because we have a dogfight issue, Chief. We are going high into the danger zone, baby.
I'm a sucker for a dogfight issue, and I'll be honest, I thought this one was really boring. I just could not get into this issue at all.
Well, you're stacking it up against Shakedown and Showdown, aren't you?
I don't know. I'm flicking through the pages now, and I'm just like, no, I don't see why I would ever read this issue again.
Chief,
go on.
Do you want to continue with this podcast, or should we just talk about toys?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Talk about this comic. Tell me why it's good.
Okay. Well, first, a nitpick. Night Raven fins are actually, they bend outwards, not inwards.
Okay, yep.
Yeah,
good
so
spot.
Paolo, foul on that one. Sorry, pal. His fidelity to the Night Raven is pretty all over the place. His fidelity to the X19 is pretty good. I must say.
Yeah, it does look good. It does look good.
I suppose its rounded edges are of assistance to his style, which is less hard line and is more rounded. So that helps. Its general geometry is of assistance to the art style. But the Night Raven is a bit all over the shop. Like the canard wings, the nose, the intakes, the exhausts, the wings themselves.
Yep.
It feels to me like he had two versions of the Night Raven warring for his reference. Because there was a Night Raven produced in the Rise of Cobra toy line.
Ah, okay, that's
but
interesting.
it was a stumpy little thing. Yeah, definitely not on the same grandeur and scale as the original.
I'm going to interject here. I read these issues about an hour ago. I've forgotten already what this Cobra Master Plan was. They've sent this... Is it just my favourite line of dialogue, which is in the last page, where they say, "Congratulations, you did an excellent job." They're talking to the Stratoviper, considering that the Night Raven you were supplied with had been downgraded in performance and capabilities to allow longer and more informative interactions with the G.I. Joe aircraft. Holy moly, that is some kind of crazy tactical planning. But was that the sole purpose of this Cobra mission, to learn more about Joe aircraft, or was he trying to do something else?
Will we ever know? I mean, that's the reason that is stated. You could take it as read, or you could take it as there's something else underlying this. I like the idea that there are layers of deception, and even the audience, us, the reader, are not privy to all the answers. But that is a pretty on-the-nose statement from old CC.
Right, okay.
I do have a problem with the logic of it, though. If you want a longer aerial engagement, why would you downgrade the capabilities of your jet?
Yeah, surely you'd make it better.
I can assure you that your opponent... Yeah, I can assure you that the Joes are not sending up a half-cocked X-19. If you want it to be over in seconds, that's when you downgrade your speed, your weapons, your sensor suite.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. What notes of merit do I actually have here? Okay, well, nitpick. Ghost Rider's action figure at least has a red scarf, not a yellow scarf. Okay, whatever. Here's a logic thing. So they say that if you have to crash, land, or ditch, terrible omen to discuss that.
Yes.
While the guy's boarding his plane, they say this to Ghost Rider, that the Tomahawk will take 5 hours to reach you, and by that stage, obviously, hypothermia will have claimed you.
Yep.
Now, realistically speaking, if you use the Chinook as an analog for a Tomahawk, now Chinook is a bigger helicopter, but we'll just massage the numbers a little bit and say that the Tomahawk has a similar range to a real world inspiration for it. Anyway, it would only have about 2.5 hours of flight time without refueling.
Okay, wow.
And they say that the Tomahawk would have to fly for 5 hours to reach this dogfight zone, this conflict zone. So is the Tomahawk like packing double fuel? In which case it would only have enough fuel to get there, and then not for the return trip. You see what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Chief? It's,
That doesn't work.
It's a little bit problematic. Like the range of the Chinook is 400 nautical miles, and its top speed is 170 knots. So, you know, using the math, that's like just over 2 hours worth of flight time. Anyways, whatever. Get over it, Stephen. Next point. This is something that I wanted to talk about when referencing the cover earlier. On page 7, maybe 6 in your bind, we see the Phantom on its kind of launch platform. And it's about, like, the catapult is fully steamed up. It's ready to go. The artwork, like, I really want to see how it launches out of the pit.
Right, okay.
Really. I'm dying to know the procedure for its launch. And the art just does not deliver, man. It's very abstract.
It's very close up and you don't see the details.
Yeah, a lot of speed lines, and suddenly it's airborne. I'm like, nah, man. What does it do? Does it literally spit out of that hole? It's got no runway whatsoever. It's on a platform, and the platform ends literally in front of the nose of the aircraft. So it's not like an aircraft carrier with like a ramp, you know, launch ramp. It's not like that. There is no run-up. It's literally, it comes off this rail and it's airborne. So, I don't know, man. Spring-loaded missile firing action. Must be.
Yeah.
It's got me scratching my head. Love the redesign on the Techno Vipers. It's not accurate to the toy or anything, but Paolo didn't do a bad job. Normally when we see like classic Vipers helmets being reinterpreted, it's a weaker design. I like this. Kind of meshes with my understanding of like the Devil's Due era, where things were slightly more like insect-like and organic. It's cool, man.
Yeah, sometimes that's a benefit of getting someone onto a new series, whatever it might be, not just Joe, that maybe hasn't. Well, I don't know. I'm guessing here, but maybe he hasn't had that much exposure to the Joe universe before, and it almost gives you not an artistic license to do what you want, but you can potentially kind of stamp your own style onto something, and sometimes here, like you said, you end up with something that is actually quite cool looking.
Oof. We get a little tease of something called Arctic Terradrome 27. Chief, I don't know about you, but I love stories set in the cold, because the cold becomes your biggest enemy, and it's kind of like both Cobra and Joe are fighting the elements more than they're fighting one another, and so there's a kind of an anxiety that just permeates the whole story.
Yes,
agreed. And great horror movies like The Thing are set in the frozen wastelands, so there is a much better story lurking in this little hint that Cobra's got these bases secreted around the world in the frozen wastelands. It's cool. Man, that's the story I want to read. The Night Raven has guns in the front? What?
Wait, it does now.
It does now. And the X-19 is capable of shaking missiles, so dropping behind missiles that have kind of overshot it.
Yes.
And then, when it sees that the missiles are going to hit a hapless passenger liner, it's able to then re-overtake those missiles.
Yeah, man. That's it. That's how it works.
That's how it works. That's how it works, right? Okay, so a jet is capable of dropping behind missiles and then overtaking them. Missiles are not designed to be faster than the targets that they're meant to hit. Okay, cool. I just wanted to get that set straight in our heads. Okay, so I love the reveal at the end. As predictable as it may have been, that we get the drop on the Night Raven pilot, the Strata Viper, and take his uniform, I still loved the reveal. But then, the whole time I'm thinking in the back of my mind, we had this huge foreshadowing about hypothermia setting in, what. Not only was Ghost Rider able to get the drop and take out this Strata Viper, but then strip down himself and his opponent and redress himself in this what can only be mind-numbing cold. Like Like literally, like daggers going through your skin. I don't know if you've ever taken off any items of clothing when you're in the snow, Chief. It ain't fun, brother.
I don't think I have, no.
Oh, really? Oh, I've got
No,
one
must
on
have
the
done.
Chief in the experience
done.
stakes there. Look, at least the jets were burning. Maybe he hunkered down to the burning aviation fuel, jet fuel, and stayed toasty while he disrobed.
Yes,
And I think that's all I've got on that.
I mean, it was nice to see a dogfighting issue, and I think Larry had referenced that in one of the letters pages a few months back.
Clearly he's taking requests. That's the upshot of this.
Yeah, because it definitely was, wasn't it? It was mentioned and that he had something in the works, and maybe it does. I was maybe a bit harsh in it, saying, "Well, I would ever read this again," but I am sure at some point I will reread all these IDW comics again, so it will get a reread. But I think maybe that I was in the middle of a 3-issue arc, and this suddenly was just a single standalone issue that didn't feel like it was connected to the 2 previous issues in any way.
Oh, absolutely. Total left turn. But it's more that fly by the seat of your pants writing, man. Love it or hate it. Look, I didn't mind it, but it's definitely going to be a middling score if we do rate this stuff.
Well, let's do it. Let's rate it. And we actually do need to go back, and I don't think we ranked last week's one, the death of Snake Eyes, but what I'm proposing is I think there was a few issues that led into the death of Snake Eyes, which we will also need to include. So let me go back and just kind of determine a kind of cut-off to the start of that Death of Snake Eyes storyline, and then I'll come back to you for scores. But on this particular one, 216 to 218, what is your yo-joage, please, sir?
4.
4 out of 10.
Oh, no, 5. Okay, fine. 4 would be
5 out of 10.
Failing grade.
The Chief is coming in with I think I am also coming in with a 5. There you go.
Any reason in particular? Just unmemorable.
Just unmemorable, and I think it. Yeah, I'm not going to say the artist did a bad job because I think he was a good artist, but for me, it just felt I'm so used to Gallant over the last X amount of issues that it just did shift a little bit towards non-G.I. Joey looking, and Larry's writing was not on top form here.
I like the very basic Commando look. It kind of feels to me like the art style of the Resolute.
Okay,
Shorts. Yeah, Snake Eyes in that is very no frills. Very like skin tight, Commando goggles, vented sort of mouth guard.
Yep.
And this is that. I like that. I like the Silent Castle. Too bad the plot didn't really have a direction that was strong enough. And we have throwaway moments like all these assembled kind of intelligence operatives with Hawk, and Baroness is kind of very unsubtly watching them, and they get the drop on her, and then Destro gets the drop on them. I'm like, this kind of circular stuff really doesn't go anywhere. It's like, oh, we've got eyes on you, but we've got eyes on you, but we've got even more eyes on you, and we have bigger guns, so step off. It's so middling, Chief. It's so inconsequential, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
it
with
can
you,
only
I'm
get
with
a
you.
5. I'm sorry. G.I. Joe gods, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, it is what it is. We may see an improvement next time. Now, I'm thinking here, next up we've got a Cobra World Order prelude, like a one-shot, and then we've got the actual storyline. Is it 8 issues? I don't even know. In the actual Cobra World Order.
Chief, we're in uncharted territory, man. We just got to let it roll over us.
Done. So it's 2 issues next. It's the Cobra World Order one-shot, and then issue 219 is your assignment for next week. But having talked comics, we need to talk toys, and you're the man to talk toys, so it's time for Steve Talks Toys.
Steve talks about toys, ho ho. Steve talks about G.I. Joe. He talks about all the toys from the comic book and the animated show. Steve talks about toys. Steve talks about toys. Steve talks about toys. Steve talks about toys.
Okay, Chief. It can only be one thing, right?
I don't know if there's a Sean figure. Can it? I think it will be either the Night Raven or the Stealth. I think you've done the Stealth, so I'm saying Night Raven.
I was about to say. And Chief, to answer your question about could it be Sean, well, since he slipped so seamlessly into Snake Eyes' role, effectively every Snake Eyes action figure is also a Throwdown / Sean Collins action figure.
Yeah, because he's got the same file name, file name classified, I guess, on his file card, and codename Snake Eyes. Yeah.
There you go. But you are indeed correct. It's time we talked about the Raven, because there is no haven from the Cobra Raven.
Oh yeah, boy.
You're looking at Cobra's new supersonic jet, the Raven. Cobra Raven, Cobra Raven. There's no haven from the Cobra Raven. Two jet engines, a drop-down cockpit, a hidden bomb port. Now you know it's got twin rear guns and a one-man drone, and it's on the lookout for G.I. Joe.
Oh, Chief, what a beauty. Oh, what a gorgeous plane. My word. Let me read to you the box blurb for some interesting information, some tidbits perhaps.
Yeah.
This supersonic jet flies at 3 times the speed of sound, and its piggyback jet serves as a one-man reconnaissance craft. It's based on Cobra Command's top secret designs, including some of the most sophisticated technology in Cobra's weapon arsenal. The pilot, I'll read you his file card as well, and so we get a nice smorgasbord of what this set was all about. Codename Strato Viper, Cobra Night Raven S3P pilot. The best secret agents in the world work for private corporations as industrial spies simply because big business pays better than any government. Cobra can attract some of the best pilots from around the globe to join the air wing of the Cobra Legions, known as the Air Vipers, by doubling and tripling their salaries. Air Vipers are formidable opponents, but the Strato Vipers are the creme de la creme. To qualify as a Strato Viper, a candidate must first be an Air Viper with 1,500 hours logged in flight time. He must have a fixed-wing rating up to 4 engines, combat experience, and an impeccable security clearance, and be willing to undergo the surgical procedure necessary to make him more resistant to hypoxia, hyperventilation, and other decompression sicknesses that can affect a pilot above Armstrong's line, 63,000 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, where do you want to start?
You didn't have it, did you, Chief?
I didn't have it, no.
I had the re-release. I had the Sky Patrol Sky Raven, which dolled the Night Raven up in chrome on the top portion, black underneath, took away the drone, or the one-man reconnaissance craft, whichever you want to call it. But it was still an impressive set, and it felt like, to me, collecting G.I. Joe in the 90s, it felt like it came from a different toy line. Because of the level of engineering that went into it. It was amazing to park this thing next to what else I had at the time, which were things like, I don't know, the Shark 9000. Don't bother asking. Junk.
Okay.
Very kind of far more flamboyant, and less technical toy. So the Raven design, I mean, firstly, the fact that it has a lever that you slide to engage the front and rear landing gears, magnificent. Rubber tires. There was just so much more value added to this set, and it was a big, big bird. In fact, I think the Night Raven is the longest of the jets. It could be the X-19,
okay. Interesting.
But yeah, it's somewhere between the X-19, the Sky Striker, and the Night Raven. These boys are big. You definitely need 2 hands to play with it.
Yeah.
It can even be a pretty awkward piece for a child. I mean, I've only ever handled them as a kind of a early teen and now an adult. But it was a pretty mythical day when I got my Night Raven for the first time. Nothing beats that original black with the red accents. Beautiful.
What's the armament on here? I see quite a lot of missiles.
Yeah, so it's got 2 pods on the wings that each deploy 2 missiles each. It's got a drop-down bomb bay, which, questionable aerodynamic value to having something like that actually drop down mid-flight on a jet that supposedly goes at Mach 3, but that aside, there are 2 bombs located inside. Then there are 2 cannon, and the cannon face rearwards and act like an air brake. That air brake is manually operated. You can kind of flip it up with your fingers, and that also kind of engages the articulation on the cannon. So you can, I suppose, engage targets that are pursuing you, though nothing can really catch up with this jet, let's be honest. And also you run the risk of shooting your damn drone, which parks in the middle of the ship. There is real-life precedent for that, I'll have you know. It's incredible.
Right. All right,
yeah, man. So the design squarely falls between the SR-71 Blackbird, as we all know, and then the fictional jet from Firefox, that Clint Eastwood film, where he...
Oh, yeah. I used to watch that a lot as a kid.
Yeah, man.
Can't remember
Skyjacking.
it,
but if you do Google some screen caps, in fact, I'll find some images, I'm sure, and toss them on the socials. But yeah, there are different design elements. Certainly the more angular design elements of the ship look like Firefox. But the overall kind of configuration takes from the SR-71.
Right.
And the SR-71, in fact, did piggyback a drone called the D-21 drone. They never got it to work. It always malfunctioned. You know, it either kind of did not return to base and just kind of kept bombing along its kind of programmed flight path, or it just crash landed. I think the Chinese intercepted one and then eventually handed it back over to the United States. Maybe as part of some kind of exchange. But yeah, interesting that it has a real life precedent. I mean, most of these fanciful things, like when they add bits and pieces to a real world design, are completely fictional. But in the case of the Night Raven, it's a real thing. The drone saw reuse with the Crusader shuttle, so it swapped sides essentially and became a G.I. Joe added piece for the reuse of the Defiant in 1989. And it did not see re-release in the Sky Raven. So I was always shorted the damn thing with my set as a kid. But yeah, as I say, the Night Raven itself, a beautiful piece. If you're a true G.I. Joe diehard, I'd say you need this toy. In terms of major variations, there is one. The slider mechanism that lets down the landing gear in I think the initial release is a straight slide, so it slides back on a track. Yeah. That was found to be perhaps a bit too flimsy, like it would often kind of cave on its own. So they added a notch in later releases, so you actually kind of pull it sideways and then pull it back, and it kind of locks. Okay. It locks into its forward position and then slides back into its rear position. Stratoviper's a damn fine figure. Beautiful. And I think kind of looks unisex in a way. They've got very petite feet for some reason. They are kind of short in stature, which is of help because the cockpit is cramped. Okay, you cannot get a lot of figures into that cockpit and sufficiently close it. Partly because it has this wicked, like, drop-down mechanism. It slides down as opposed to the canopy popping open. It does look cool, but it is problematic. There are a lot of loose Night Raven canopy or drop-down cockpits at this stage of the game. And unfortunately, because it can sometimes drop quite suddenly, there are elements that can break to it. So always be very ginger about how you play with your jet.
It'd be quite cool to army build Night Ravens.
Expensive hobby, that. Yeah, man. Look, I find that the Night Raven is best utilized not as an army builder kind of vehicle. It came to my attention while researching this that it only appeared in special missions in the original run. In the main A-Raw Marvel line, we only got a hint that there was something parked at the Cobra Island aerodrome under a tarp. Remember Flint's recon team? They're kind of scoping out Cobra Island. They're like, I think it was Alpine who spots it. He's like, there's something really big and stealthy looking under a tarp at the airfield.
Yes.
We never see it. So these are really special aircrafts and something that shouldn't be thrown around too callously because they are supersonic, supersonic. Three times the speed of sound make them the fastest guys in the sky. Okay, bar none.
Yeah, cool.
They are reconnaissance craft. They are spy planes. They are radar invisible. And just in case you're able to find one, in the unlikely event that you corner a Night Raven, well, he's got firepower to take you cleanly out of the sky. The point I wanted to make about the androgyny of the Stratovipers is that In fact, in one of the more famous appearances, there was a named character Sky Raven pilot called Raven in the cartoon series.
Ah, okay.
And it was a female. And she gave Slipstream a great run for his money. I forget what the episode is called, but I can research it while you talk about something else.
No, that's cool. I didn't know anyone who had this Night Raven. It was sporadic appearances in the comic, gives it kind of that kind of mysterious appeal. Anything that's shown less is always, a favourite, like, Boba Fett in Star Wars. And I was speaking to Ben about this earlier. Me and him both say Boba Fett, which apparently annoys Americans who the correct pronunciation is Boba Fett. Obviously, he is called Boba Fett in the movies, but for me and Ben, he's always Boba Fett. But his lack of appearance, screen time, led him cult status, and same kind of thing with a lot of these toys. And if it's not in the comics much, then, that Night Raven looks well cool. So I think that adds to the appeal of it.
The name of the episode is In the Presence of Mine Enemies. Also happens to be probably my favorite episode of the original cartoon. It's a good one. I would say track it down.
Okay,
but I think... I could actually go on forever, but I think that's where I'm going to leave it.
Very good. Very good. There will be more toy talk next week, depending on what the issues are. Try and guess what toy that Steve's going to talk about is. I'm not sure on Chief's track record. Not been too shabby recently on guessing, so try and keep that up. But right now we need to confuse some people because it's time for Commonwealth colloquialisms, aka over egg in the pudding. We got a pudding. We got a pudding. We're gonna over egg that pudding. Ain't got no criticisms. We got some Commonwealth colloquialisms.
Chief, what's a shallot?
A shallot? Now, I'm assuming that's not a shallot.
Oh, shallot, sorry.
Okay, a shallot
pronunciation aside,
a shallot is like a smaller, sweeter kind of opal-shaped onion.
I would agree with you, and so would my wife. But Australians would not. They
weirdos.
call... I know! Offence taken, I'm sure, by all Aussies out there, but we mean it this time. A shallot. They call spring onions shallots.
No, that's wrong. Because a spring onion is its own separate thing.
Yeah, it's long and green on one end and white on the other. That's a spring onion.
Yeah, that's it.
Mate, it drives me crazy, I tell you. Maybe this is just regional to Queensland. Maybe it's not the whole of Australia, but everyone calls those things, those long green and white things, shallots.
Yes. They obviously don't have shallots.
No, they do.
Or,
I've bought them.
What do they call them?
Damned if I know.
What do they call them? Just small onions.
Shit, I actually need to research that a little further. I knew you'd ask me that because you're you're very good at this, Chief. You're a good host. Take a lot of care with the contents. But yeah, man, sure. I have no idea. Maybe they call them both shallots. It's just one of those weird things. Like a marrow is that thing, but it's also that other thing. They're both marrows. You know?
Okay. What if I said something was a little bit skew-whiff?
Skew-whiff? Oh. Yeah. Like disgusting? Like makes you nauseous?
Skew-whiff would be something that was crooked or not straight.
Oh.
It's a little bit skew-whiff.
Well, we would just say squiff. So you would...
Oh, you would say squiff.
You would break down the... You'd break down the syllables. Skew-whiff.
Yep. So I would have it as SKEW, then maybe a hyphen, maybe not, WHIFF.
Okay, well,
Skew-whiff.
South African, I'm basing this on nothing, but I imagine it would be spelled SQUIFF. Squiff.
Squiffy. Oh, squiff.
Squiff, yeah. Huh.
There you go.
Interesting.
What else you got for me?
No, I think we'll leave it at that.
Okay, the well has run dry. The well has run dry, everyone.
No, Squiff is a good one, man. I like that.
Oh, yeah, of course you had Squiff. Oh, yeah.
Skewiff and Squiff. Interesting.
Yeah, nice.
Different receptions.
More colloquialisms next week, but now it's time for... We asked you a question, you being the people of the world, and you responded in every way that you could, but not every single way, because no one sent us a letter, because we asked you a question.
Snail mail. Only you do the snail mail, Chief, and it's lovely. I loved getting a package or an envelope. Hey, it was actually just like a yellow piece of paper that you sticky taped into an envelope. Very, very industrious.
Yes.
Nice.
And I think I said I'd post more pictures up of those, and I haven't done that. So let me make a note. Wait a minute. Let me make a pen.
Post-its.
Make a pen. Post pics of snack.
Boring! Let's talk about the topic, Chief.
Cards.
Oh my word,
Yes.
man. So, a little thing happened. A little something just sort of, just out of the blue. The death of Snake Eyes, okay? The linchpin of G.I. Joe. He died. He was killed off. Okay?
Yes. Now, just to recap, as a few people did get confused when I posted this question up, kind of saying, what does people think about Larry killing off Snake Eyes? A couple of people said, what, you mean he's been killed off again? And obviously I was referencing the issues that we had discussed on the last episode. So issues 212 to 215 of the IDW run.
Chief, is it possible that our social media reach exceeds the number of people even listening to the podcast?
Wowzers.
There are people reading your posts that are unaware of the content we're dealing with. Well, things aren't looking good for that question that I posed earlier this year about how many people are reading along.
Anyway, so the question was, ignoring what comes after the death of Snake Eyes, what did people think about Larry killing off the character? Now, a lot of respondees ignored my question, asking them to ignore what comes after, and they mentioned at length Sean and Dawn and all this other stuff, but I was more interested in just the act of forget about what we know happens in issues 216 onwards. Imagine if issue 215 was the last issue of A Real American Hero you've read and your knowledge stops there. What were your thoughts of Larry killing off the character? And it was a good response, as always, from the listeners. We had a lot of responses, and some of it was, very educated and measured, I thought.
Maybe it's indicative of the kind of people we attract to this show, because, yeah, Chief, I certainly have a cynical side. I fear I might have poisoned you as well with it. Maybe Chris did as well in his tenure. This run is hot and cold. We know this. So some of the responses were very outspoken on how they didn't like it. In fact, a lot of them, I'd say that the majority of the responses we got on the socials were, it was not handled well, it was weak, for a number of reasons. Not least of which the fact that, Snake Eyes is killed off and immediately we've got a replacement for him. It's like, let that event have a little bit of space to breathe. And be mourned. It was quite arbitrary. Anyway, that was a major criticism that I tapped into. But something that I was quite curious was the fan response directed towards Larry. Now, it's known that he is unafraid to read and even allow print letters that are less than praise for his work.
Yeah.
And yet, at the time of writing, the letters page is glowing. Everyone reflecting on the death of Snake Eyes is like, oh, Larry, well done, congratulations. What a fitting end, what a beautiful tribute. We don't like the fact that he's gone, but we like the way you handled it. And that's lovely, but is it honest? Did they shy away from printing negative responses? Or were there no negative responses? Did no one have kind of the balls or the spine to step up and say, Larry, didn't like that? Flash forward to Larry's Facebook, and we were made aware on our socials that, in fact, there was a backlash, and people called him out on it. He did not respond.
No.
Which, he's very selective in what he says and doesn't say in the world of the social media, and he can be pretty cantankerous and is not afraid of the block button and the unfriend button. But just a pity that someone did have the stones to say, Larry, this is weak. From a writing perspective, to do that to your linchpin character. And that got me thinking, like, how did they get away with it to begin with? Last week, Shannon Gallant told us that he was called up on 2 occasions by Hasbro to omit things or erase things or change things. One of them was as minute a detail as some background characters smoking a cigarette. And Hasbro were like, no, our toys don't smoke. I assume that's how they phrased it, exactly like that. Our toys don't smoke. They're good role models. They're real American heroes, of course. Even the dastardly Cobras don't light up. So how did Larry take their jewel in the crown, their number 1 selling toy, and kill that character? Maybe the reason Sean picks up the mask literally on the same page as Snake Eyes gets vaporized. Maybe the reason is he needed a direct substitute with absolutely no time lapse for Hasbro to sign off on it. Because you need the character, the at least the visage of Snake Eyes to never die. That toy cannot die. So even if it's a placeholder, Snake Eyes must exist.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's definitely a case of, look, we've seen Death of Superman, Death of Batman, Death of Captain America. We've seen all these, tagged storylines that clearly do, whether they are good or bad, clearly do increase sales. I'd be very interested to see what this did for Real American Hero, but it was, in my cynical mind, it's just clearly, right, Hasbro, IDW cash in, let's sell some more books. Death of Snake Eyes. Like you said, we don't really want the character disappearing. So, almost straight away, there's no gap between the Snake Eyes visually and dialogue-wise, because he has no dialogue. There's no difference between the one we knew and the one we've now got. So, business as usual, without having to have a book without Snake Eyes in, but we got a sales bump for those issues. So, if that was always going to be the case, it almost didn't matter how Larry killed him off, did it? Or could maybe people railed against the fact that it was Serpentor, who potentially wasn't a massive fan favourite? I'm not sure, I'm guessing here, but maybe people would have liked Cobra Commander to have offed him, or it was in the midst of a giant eyeball Transformers kind of mash-up storyline which wasn't going down so well, so maybe it was just the circumstances of the death that people didn't like as well. Yeah.
But it definitely was railed against that he could be so arbitrarily replaced within a number of panels almost. I'm going to tease that out slightly because it was a point made by a number of great commentators. Forgive me, I'm not going to name drop all of you, but that definitely is a thread. But I'm gonna spin one point out of that wasn't mentioned, at least not while I passed over the socials, and that's the fact that there is room for a bit of character development. They missed a trick in that not only does Sean don the mantle of Snake Eyes, but he can do everything that Snake Eyes did just as well, if not better. Okay, one of the coolest moments in Snake Eyes' early run of stories obviously is the infiltration of the Silent Castle. Issue 21 is the man alone doing the things, using the skills that only he as a Joe has, and also the kind of emotional content of rescuing his girl. In the very next issue, like the issue we discussed today, Sean is infiltrating the Silent Castle, going toe-to-toe with the head snake, able to literally, kill him outright. There has been no development to that point. Okay? We've got hints of a backstory, but it feels like it hasn't been earned. It's all come too easily. It would be a perfect opportunity for, this guy has big shoes to fill. and those are the stories that we're going to tell. It's like, yeah. you can play with Uzis and swords, but this is Snake Eyes you're trying to impersonate. He has a style and a way about him that you need to impersonate. You need to immerse yourself. I don't feel like, that also just cheapens the whole thing. That it's so easy to emulate Snake Eyes completely.
Yeah, it felt to me like a wasted opportunity, but even before that point, because you've introduced Sean, and he's already come packed with some backstory because he's Wade Collins' kid. He's excelling in the military. He's trying to join up with the Joes. He's got a new code name Throwdown. So you've already created this new character, and that character probably had legs. He could have stuck around for 5-10 years as a newly introduced Joe, and probably could have been quite an interesting character. I think his relationship with Stalker, who served alongside his dad, and I think that was going somewhere. That had legs, and Larry kind of took all that away by just putting him in the Shadow Man gear straight away. So I think we got robbed of that separate character as well.
Yeah, would have been interesting to see that relationship develop. Snake Eyes actually becoming a kind of a mentor figure to Sean. I mean...
So what about you just on a personal level? When you read this for the first time round and, death of Snake Eyes, were you okay with Larry killing him off, but you preferred it to maybe have been a bit more meaningful, the actual death, or were you like, no, I don't want ever to see a Joe die?
I don't think I didn't ever want to see a Joe die. I came into G.I. Joe and Joes were already dead. I suppose Joes were dead all as early as issue 19, I think it was. General Flag bites it then. But no, look, it had been spoiled even before I even laid eyes on the cover, Chief. I mean, I read these issues long after the media storm had died down. The backlash of people what? They killed Snake Eyes? What? Plastered all over social media. I wasn't reading concurrently with all of that. I came to these books much later. So by then, I already knew that... I knew the criticisms. I knew that it was an arbitrary, unceremonious death. I was happy with the funeral issue. That was beautifully portrayed.
Yes.
Not too heavy on the dialogue. You know how I like that. But, yeah, no, I'm just going to echo what everyone else says in that if you're going to kill off your darlings, give it a plot line that means something. Maybe that's too contrived for it to mean something. That it's, a death at the hand of someone more meaningful to the plot, not a reanimated corpse of a character that Larry actually gives rocks about anyway. Serpenta was only ever like a pop-up baddie in those issues. He wasn't kind of used to his full potential, shall we say.
Maybe it was just Larry giving the finger to everyone saying, look, I'm going to kill everyone's favourite character using my most disliked character.
Well,
you don't know,
yeah.
do you?
What a boner!
I don't know. I think two points for me is that I've been reading Joe and Action Force comics since the mid-'80s, and I'm just trying to think, do I have any kind of personal or emotional attachment to any of the characters? If any of them got killed off, I don't necessarily think I would be throwing my toys out the pram. And that's not to say that people shouldn't be throwing their toys out the pram, but I'm just saying,
Snake Eyes,
I'm not...
Chief. He's kind of...
Yeah, but I'm not... It's Snake Eyes. He's just another Joe to me. He's not... He doesn't rank higher than any other Joes, or if you want to kill him off, kill him off. I don't care either way, whether he lives or dies. But maybe I think I definitely echo a lot of people when they say that the storyline needed to maybe be a bit heavier and a bit meatier and mean a bit more, and not him just get vaporized with no body left. I think that was poorly executed by Larry, definitely. But I'm never against writers doing whatever they want with the characters. It's up to us to decide, oh, I like what you've done with that character, or I don't. But there's no, I hear a lot of this in criticisms of other comic books. Oh, that character wouldn't act like that, or oh, he doesn't, I don't like the way that writer's writing him. Well, the writers can do whatever they want. It's up to you just to decide, whether you like it or not. And The other thing is, in other major comic book storylines outside of Joe's, when a big character has been killed, there has been that breathing room. So when Doomsday kills Superman, you get the 4 replacement Supermen, and you get the whole Funeral for a Friend, Reign of the Supermen arc, which goes on for months until the original obviously returns. Same thing with Batman, same with Captain America, same with all these guys. There was breathing room, and here it wasn't even issue to issue. It was the same issue when, you know, the same characters effectively back. So I think it would have had more resonance and meant more if there could have been a 6-month gap with no Snake Eyes, air quotes, character. But maybe, like you said, maybe Hasbro would only sign off at it if, you know, there was no gap.
Interesting. So we just joined the sort of chorus of like naysayers that this was a bad story turn and handled poorly.
Yes, but at this point in time, I'm not groaning every time Sean shows up on panel, because I don't know, I'm still able, I think, at this moment in time, to separate him from the original Snake Eyes, even if it's only in a very minor way that he writes notes on pads. That's enough of a sliver for me to consider them two different entities. But maybe after he appears more and I read more, I'm like, oh no, I can't go with this anymore. I don't know. We'll find out.
And don't overlook the obvious poignancy of Scarlet being forced to kind of take this splitting image in ability, in appearance of her dead lover, to take him under her wing and show him onto the bloody Staten Island ferry.
Yes.
You know, where her and the man called Snake Eyes, you know, had a romantic moment, interrupted by a couple of Crimson Guardsmen, but then, you know, resumed the romantic interlude. Like, she's tortured, man, and I'm pretty sure we're not going to get an exploration of that. But as I said in this podcast, like, at least it sends my headcanon in an interesting direction.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the best part of G.I. Joe. I'm still a kid playing with his toy box. And the comic book, Joe media in general, is not the be-all and end-all. It's the springboard for my imagination. For my imaginary box of toys. I don't need the comic book to give me every answer.
Yep.
Because, you know, in my mind at least, I'm still an 8-year-old sitting with wobbly milk-tooth awe at all these incredible plastic playthings that I have before me and the myriad of adventures that we go on. So, you know, I guess long story short, there are interesting possibilities that Sean presents.
Yes.
But that extends beyond the ambit of this question.
Yes, good stuff.
Didn't like it. Moving on.
Thanks to everyone who responded across all the social media platforms. We appreciate that every week. So, you know, without responses, that segment will just go back to me asking Steve a question. So,
heaven forbid.
Thanks for that. As usual, you can get in touch with us in all the usual places. That's Talking_Joe on Twitter, Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, TalkingJoeComics@gmail.com, and Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast on Facebook. Where can the good people find your work, sir?
Oh, what work? Across the road at the grocery store. That's what I do now.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. Where is that shop? If they want to come down and say hi to Steve, packing groceries, where is
Whites of North Ward, Warburton Street, Townsville. Woohoo. 4810. Look me up.
Cool. Good stuff. You can also find Talking Joe on the G.I. Joe Berg YouTube channel, because we are running a series of Chief's Toy Box where I rummage through the box and pull out some oldies but goodies. And we've got another episode. What have we done? We've done 3 so far. We've got another one coming up soon for you, so stay tuned for that. And more guests coming up. We had SL Gallant last week, and we got 2 more potential guests lined up. One maybe next week, and I don't know when the other one's coming, but stay tuned for more details on that. But with all that said and done, we will catch you down the road.
We've been Talking Joe.
We're all out of Joes.
Yo, Joe!